Hello everybody and welcome back to the CVRcade Talkshow. As always, we've got Viktor Lundqvist who took out his persona and no longer has those sunglasses on like we saw at the end of the last talk show.
They are still here, I mean.
So why do you choose to be blind? Why do you, like, if you have the option of seeing and not seeing, like I wear glasses now, I'd rather
There's nothing to see.
Wow, Beth. Wow.
Let me just tell you, I'm fine. I look better slightly out of focus. It's totally good. Trust me, I know these things.
But that's how Viktor walks around when he takes his glasses off. He's like, everything is bigger. Everything just seems bigger.
Yeah, well, it is true.
Well,
yes.
Vic, sorry?
I was going to say, how to smooth fine lines and wrinkles. Just do not wear glasses. That's the way to do it.
Guys, can you believe this? We're not even a minute in and Viktor already dissed the entire talk show. May as well just get him out of here. But no, it's good to be back. We're back every Wednesday for the time being until the next season of the CVRcade World Cup starts, where I'm sure there's going to be plenty to discuss every week with multiple talk shows like we had prior to the year change. But we have a few things on the agenda today. The big thing will be the next CVRcade World Cup has been announced to have teams in it. But before we dive into that and share some more information, Beth, you're in charge of a new exciting development on the platform called Classes. Could you give us an update on the status of where it is currently?
Yeah, so Classes has always been on the radar for CVRcade, and we've been kind of thinking about what that might look like as the racing has evolved and what we can do in Classes. And I've been doing a little bit of experimentation in Rise and Rip. So over time, the Classes have really evolved with all of the gameplay and the experimentation that we're doing to be a place and a set of tools where anyone can go in and they can create their own workouts. So we use the word classes because we are going to have some instructor-led classes. We are going to have group classes, group workouts. We're going to do our own formats from a CVRcade perspective. But the tools aren't just exclusive to us. These are community tools for users to use to create their own workouts. So if you're a train a road person and have a type of workout that you like to do, you can do your workouts in CVRcade the same way you can, but you have all the engaging gameplay. If you like to work out with others with your team, you can go ahead and create workouts for your teams. You can do race simulation. And the best part about it, my cat is back.
I was going to say, I could see it jumping up in the background.
She just climbed up the back. She is such a camera hog. She shouldn't jump down though because she just had surgery. Poor kitty. Okay, back on track. I'm telling you, she is such a camera hog. Trying to upstage the CVRcade podcast.
How dare she?
How dare she? But the classes really are a way to do workouts. And the thing that I'm most excited about is the concept of a pay spot. So a lot of athletes, when they go on, some people like to work out alone, some people like to work out with others. But the pay spot concept is that when you set in your zones, your predetermined workout zones, that again, it's blocks, intervals, time, all the things that fitness people and cyclists are familiar with, your pay spot travels at that zone. So if there's a range of zone of 65 to 75% of FTP, the pay spot does that, and you follow the pay spot. So you're practicing drafting. If you want to give a little bit more, you can step out into the wind and give a little bit more. And then there's power ups. So like if you if the pay spot drops you, you can drop a power up and make it back on. So super flexible tools. I have a vision of marrying up. I come from a spin studio. It's what brought me to cycling. I kind of understand the chasm, the space between them and how one isn't right for another. But this set of tools at CVRcade, it can go in either direction. It can be a hybrid. So I'm just so excited. And I'm so excited to give it to the users now because it's been in the Canary version. We've been testing stuff out. More features are coming. But I needed to get it outside of our mind and some of the internal testing and really get users to try it. So that's where we are. It's so exciting. And obviously, I've just talked about it for a very long time. I'm just very enthusiastic about it.
It's good. No, it's good to have that level of enthusiasm. But how would one go about trying it? I know Homer has done the Rise and Rips. If now Homer and Elizabeth would want to do their class together, how would you go about trying this out and giving feedback?
Yeah, so you can just go into the hamburger menu or click play icon. It's in the play menu. Click on classes. I actually created one for Homer. I created one for Peter that they've been in my Rise and Rip. And I said, hey, give this a test out. I just gave you a few intervals. It's just a half-hour class. Just see how it feels to change with a pace bot. See if it feels all right. So if someone said, Beth, I don't even want to figure out how to use this, even though it's very simple, I could design a class for them and they can just go test ride it. But a lot of people on the platform are really do-it-yourselfers. So go into classes, hit. It's all intuitive, just little radio buttons to turn Uncrashable on, to turn the power-ups on, select your track, add a block, add an interval. It's so intuitive. Watch the video I posted on Facebook yesterday. It kind of goes into the granulars, but super easy. Schedule it, ride it, and and message. And at the end, you can give, just like in the racing where you get that screen that pops up, the same thing happens in classes. So we'll be monitoring that feedback. If you don't want to reach out to me directly, you can do it that way as well.
Before we get Vic's take on this, I want to ask the question that I think a lot of people are going to be wondering once classes and workouts come out. How does it compare to, the industry standard that is like Swift? Like, Swift, when you make a class, make a workout, you drop in little blocks, you can adjust it. How does it compare and how does it differ from what people are already used to?
Yeah, so comparing it to some of the other platforms, it's the same sort of idea where you say, okay, I want to do zone 2 for 10 minutes. It's the same idea. It's not a drag and drop. It's a pull down menu. It's, if someone's familiar with creating an event, and I know a lot of people on the platform already create events for practicing for their teams and stuff. So it's that same kind of way. But if someone was new coming to the platform, it's very intuitive. It looks a little bit different, but it's the same underlying principles of like, oh, I want to add a block for 1 minute of Z5 because I'm going to really give a hard effort. And I'm going to drop down to Z1 for a minute to recover. I'm going to do 20 seconds and 40 seconds and 20 seconds and 40 seconds. Same thing. Pull down menu, add an interval, time, duration. So it's exactly what people would be familiar with. It just has a slightly different UI. But the difference is that you just sort of create it and boom, there it is. Like instantly you can go test it and ride it. So it's awesome.
Now, Vic, I know that you don't think there's anything to see here in the podcast, but there's definitely something to hear here with what Beth is saying. But we are in charge of the, ramping up the marketing. You may have seen we added 1,000 new likes to the page on CVRcade throughout from this week to last week, which is insane. A lot of good feedback. New people have come into CVRcade riders. Mm-hmm. But what we've been seeing is that people come on, they kind of get a bit scared of doing events for the first time. Do you think this will have a positive impact in terms of onboarding?
Yes, 100%. I think this is what we need because stepping into like a World Cup race and then it's like Casey, Quinton, Nigel, all these people with like their curves are so good because they race so much. I think we need a step before that just to get like a base level. Like the game needs to understand like, okay, this guy or girl is this strong, roughly. I mean, it's not going to equalize you, probably not to your limit. If you don't do, you can do like an FDP test, I guess. You can make that as a class, which is good. But I think it's a more casual way of like learning the power-ups, the way like drafting works. I mean, I especially really love the pace spot, how you can like step out of the draft if you want to. I think that's a really cool like dynamic, and that's not really used in any other platform that I've tried before. So I think that's a really fun way of doing things as well. So I think what there should be is like a class that says like beginner class, like do this before you do a race. Like it's highly recommended because you're going to have a better experience in racing. And also I think, I mean, for me, I know a lot of cyclists and most of them don't race. They just go out for rides. And I think these sort of like now I'm talking Rise and Rip and also the classes, these like more casual events will bring in more like the casual crowd. And then if they want to try it, they can go on to race the World Cup as well, which they probably will considering, the prize purse. So yeah, I think it's a great like funnel, like a way of onboarding people. So yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, just to add what you said, that I do really see it as a way to, and that's why I'm trying it with the Rise and Rip. I mean, it's a very casual social ride. It's been used as onboarding. Questions come up. I show people different things in the UI. But we've talked a little bit about, wouldn't it be fun where we do, 5 or 6 laps, on Cityscape New York, for example, and then the last lap we race it. Right. So that way people kind of got familiar with the course. But, we've all been talking about, just random things, because it's a group ride. But in a class format, you can actually, if you have that pace spot, one, you're not going to start talking and then start slowing. So you can still make it count and have it be a productive ride while you're talking, learning, and then just hammer in the race in the last lap or so. And then just build these little tiny events and newbies can use this to experiment with the pace spot without needing to be embarrassed about crashing or, and having that ability to turn Uncrushable on or off and configure it the way you want is really helpful. So you can do an intermediate class, you can do an advanced class.
I can attest to the pace spot concept as well, because I got back into riding. I had a chance of racing last Saturday, which, by the way, amazing to be back. You forget how addicting it is to race. I was unequalized. I didn't know how the algorithm worked. I had no clue. So I just went on and I said, I'm just going to have fun. I'm going to go hard. Hopefully next time I'll be a Cade competitor. And so I just worked my butt off. But the next day, I had arranged with my own personal pace spot named René Valadez to do a few more races the day after to get extra equalized and just have a bit of fun. And to have that social aspect, talking, racing, the classes, the group rides are going to be amazing as more people get in. And we have seen this. Phil Lovett, the guy went out, bought a new upgraded computer, went out, bought a kicker, went out and changed his group set from Shimano to ETAB, whatever he changed. People are just so dedicated to this. Ed Laverick is back on. Chris Pritchard is back on. Yesterday, we had 21 racers in total go through. I mean, that's for CVRcade. I remember the days, Beth. We saw the comparison stream post that you kind of thought up for us, which is thankful, by the way. But we've come so far. You look at the graphics, you look at the riders that are participating, you look at the gameplay. I'm excited. I think classes are going to be great. I want to see, so before we went live, I came up with this idea. I want to see Viktor Lundqvist do a Beth York class while I sit here and commentate, because Viktor is going to hate it.
No, Victor's going to love it.
Oh, no, he'll love you, Beth. He will hate me.
Nah, I think it's fine. I've been there before. I've done that. I can suffer.
In the chat, in the comments, if you want to see Viktor Lundqvist taken on, if you want to see a special podcast episode of Viktor going on through a class, let us know.
The whole podcast, me writing.
Well, not there'll be a special edition, special episode, bit like the interviews, bit of a highlights, just something to showcase classes. But moving onwards, because we have a lot to cover today, and we want to keep these podcasts condensed and fun to the point. Track building competition. I'll take the responsibility on myself for why it's been a while since we've announced the winner. There was the whole Christmas vacation, and it's the one vacation a year that Viktor and I get absolutely certainly. So when we took the vacation, both of us were like, oh, this is amazing. Is this what normal people feel? So I kind of put my responsibilities to the wayside. Same for Viktor, but my responsibility, I can see Viktor's face. He's like, you're throwing me under the bus here, Jesper. Sorry, Vic.
I know. It's okay. It's fine.
Sorry. But the winner of the track building competition, I think, is no secret, Ben Shuilong. Ben Shuilong will both win the track building competition, but also a lifetime award competition. It's kind of 2-in-1. So he wins the $150 that the podcast put up for display. But he's also been the person who's been consistent all the way through. He's been amazing. He wins it. Congratulations, Ben. We'll be in touch. Very, very honorable mention goes to lastminute.com submission, Kayla Laguna. Literally minutes before the deadline closed. She's like, Jesper, I've got a track. Very close to winning. But in the end, Ben Shuilong takes the win. No secrets there. Let's move on. World Cup, guys. It's gonna be teams. It's gonna be fun. Information will come. Now, from Tuesday next week, we're going to change up the racing. It's going to be team-oriented, and the reason we're doing this is to test out formats. Like for the last season, we had the bracketed session tournament finale, and we had the grand finale, which was to test different gameplay setups, test different events to figure out what works best with CVRcade. We're going to do the same, but this time we're going to test prior to the World Cup to figure out what works, and that way we're going to have a steady flow all the way through. But it's been announced it's going to be teams. I think it's in the pipelines that there'll be a limited amount of teams that are going to be allowed into this. We've already got 5 teams on the platform, and I don't think many more are going to be allowed in. So if you're thinking of getting in, you need to show interest now. I don't know what the prize purse is going to be. I can only imagine it'll be a bit bigger than 25k. But if you want to get in, there's going to be limited amount of spots. That's what we're going team. We're changing up the dynamic. Get in. But Vic, it's going to be teams. I know a few people have reached out to me after yesterday's broadcast and said, teams? Why teams?
Well, I think we saw great success with kind of like the first test tournament we did, which was the team league back in like June, July-ish. And we saw great battles and great teamwork. I mean, I especially remember like Tim being a really great teammate in, I can't remember the team name now, it's too long ago.
Monica.
But Monica's team, which was a team I can't remember. But we also saw the Pink Panthers, which is kind of like this legendary, never, we die together kind of thing. Where they would just, they would just pace.
They would die together, yes.
Yeah. It would be Chris Pritchard as a team leader. And I think it was a really fun period of like time. And I think what we want is kind of bring that feeling back, because you had the team leaders, they would be interviewed and they would talk like smack about each other and about the team. And I think it was just a really good, fun like tournament. So bringing that back for the World Cup, I am really excited personally. It'll be really interesting to see who is gonna, like what teams are gonna come onto the platform now that's team oriented, because realistically, Team Cycling Hub, it's kind of like a dream for them because they are so consistent, so strong, and they work well as a team as well. So, but yeah, I'm really excited to see how it will work. The dynamics with all the new like tracks, power-ups, and also how like the personalities have evolved since then. So I'm really excited for team-oriented World Cup.
Beth?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, with the early team league where we had one team leader where everyone was riding for one person, it'll be interesting to see. I think, I don't know how it's going to be structured, but I'd like to see it maybe structured a little bit different, because sometimes across the Omnium, the individual scorers, it might not be like podium. And, aside from the Cycling Hub domination that we see, there might be an opportunity for teams to grab a little bit from each race within the Omnium. And as a team, they're able to come up on the leaderboard, and of course I'm saying that because that what suits our team really well. We're kind of like always like doing like, we did well in this one, did well in that one. So if we could kind of pluck away little scores, we're still looking for domination, but I do think that it does change the racing dynamics if you're racing for a specific person. I mean, you still might do that in a race, but it's not that's the only person that's scoring. And that's how that former league worked, was really that was for that one person. And I think in a team situation, depending on what's happening in the race, the type of race, what power-ups are at play, with team, the course, different tracks suits different people. So you might not always have the same person you want to put up front, but you want to get one of your riders up front in that race, so you want to try to get as much points. So it'll be interesting to see and see more details. I don't have any details at this point to share, but I think it's a really great concept because it's a really unique thing about the platform where teamwork matters. And we say that all the time, but it really does. And I think it'd be really fun to see what happens.
I can't imagine it's going to be another captain scores all the points. I think we've tried that. We've been there. It was fun, but I think everybody remembers just Cameron Jeffers just showing off the guns every race, taking the victories, and
That is
also
true.
the opposite side of the spectrum, Beth York being the inventor of being the blockee. I mean, I remember
was the blocky.
what Moti
Yes.
Pikilny did throughout those 6 weeks. I mean, the fact that he's not in prison right now, crazy.
Wow.
I mean,
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, and not for any other reason than when we talk about, some blocking that happened yesterday. I know we're going to get there, but it was not invented by any necessarily one team. I remember being like, "What is this?" Like it was so shocking that someone would even do that. It was like outside my realm of experience, right? And now then we moved into like sort of talking about it and debating about it, and now it kind of happens. And to me, I avoided a couple blocks yesterday. I crashed myself by a mistake, but I avoided a couple blocks because I was anticipating it. So now I know. And just like Quinton, lining you up, or Niels lining you up in a position to have you make a mistake, it's the same thing. It's a gameplay maneuver, right? I mean, it's just you have to be like, oh, shoot. Timothy's in there on his bike, trying to protect Jennifer. I do not want to get behind him. I do not want to be behind him. Let's thread through this group and go. So.
my God! Yesterday, Ryan
Did I just open a
Goldenberg.
can of worms?
Ryan
I
Goldenberg.
think so.
What he did yesterday, I think he went to bed and he's like,
Filthy.
when you do your prayers when you go to bed, he's like, please God, let Frank Garcia forget about this tomorrow morning. When he wakes up, let him just have had a really long day of coding. Never. Now, Ryan, I think he regretted that the second he did it. Then he started backtracking, and then at the end he's like, oh, that was not a moment of brilliance. But it's fun. It's the gameplay strategy. I mean, when Quinton pulled it off on Timothy yesterday, when Timothy used his power-ups, I love it. I don't think it's a discussion anymore. Blocking is amazing.
Right.
The Niels Helden's maneuver he put on you, Beth, on Submerged Stadium, that you put on him the way before, I love it.
Yep.
It's gameplay. It makes it so fun. But looking at the teams, if we look at the teams that we anticipate to participate, there is Team Cycling Hub, who I think is at a disadvantage the fact that it's now a team league. Because
Really?
hear me out, because when it comes together, they have no quarrels of saying, guys, we need to get everybody in the lead. So they have one unified voice, one unified leader, which is Tim. Tim says, get your ducks in a row, let's go, shut up, this is what we're doing. Then you have, from the outside looking in, I'm just saying this is from the outside looking in, you've got Velocity Vixen, who individually, everybody kind of wants to just finish 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
No, we don't.
It's what it looks like. It's what it looks like. Like, you're happy to work
just what we end
together
up.
until a certain point. We're like, well, I got to defend my 3rd place. That's it. I'm happy here. Then you've got CCC, who's now imploded. But in the past, they were similar. They never really worked together. Cognition, I think... Now that you are forced to work together and the whole objective is to start a conversation every time is how can we as a collective do better? That I think is at a disadvantage to Cycling Hub because before they seem to be one of the only teams doing it. And that is just my wild take, but Vic, you're shaking your head.
Well, I am, because literally what they're doing, like, a lot of the time is coming like 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the best possible like finish. I think they're incredibly synchronized with how they do things, and I'm pretty sure there is verbal communication. I just think sometimes it can get too much. Like, if you say too much, it gets confusing. I mean, you're on your limit, and you just need like quick commands. And I mean, I did listen into Casey's live stream, and he did do a few, like, they did like quick commands, which were more like, do this, like, Niels, go to the front, like more of this. And I think that sort of teamwork clearly works for them. And for me, in my opinion, I feel like the team league is like literally like a dream for them. So it's interesting how we're polar opposites there, Jesper.
What do you think, Beth?
Well, so a couple things where we've seen in team tactics before. We've seen CVRcade with Frank at the helm also execute some really smart strategy, right? So I think that there's going to be, in terms of a tactics and team, I think that's going to be a really strong contender because of the knowledge and the ability to execute, right? Like Frank sees it coming, can tell Kayla, go do this. Kayla is an absolute workhorse, smart racer, follows through. through, right? Like she's such a, like, you know, you could tell her, go as hard as you can for 1 minute, and like, boom, down she goes, right? So,
Yes,
yeah, getting the marching orders, you know, Jennifer Garcia the same way, can just completely, like, you know, take those commands, where I think that when you're saying that cycling clubs is a disadvantage, I think that other people might have ideas, right? So like that might confuse the issue. But there's just a couple different philosophies, right? Because what we'd see with cycling hub is to be like, all right, we're all going to go hard out of the gate. We're going to put one rider up in front, and then a couple riders are going to hold back and control the pace, or maybe two are going to get off the front with a make a break and coordinate their power ups. Smart, but they're basically holding the chase group back to give those chance. So they never had to deal with a lot of the blocks. But as we've seen CVRcade's dynamic, their team is a little bit different, where they're like, you know what, we're just going to go and trade pulls and be more efficient, because as a threesome moving up the road, we're not going to deal with the chase pack. Let them cover the break if they're going to, you know, cover the break. We're just going to work together. We're going to trade pulls. We're going to save, because we're going to be looking over the omnium, not just this one race. And the three of us together up front is stronger than just two people doing it. So it's a slightly different philosophy. And I think it comes into sort of sometimes Frank's ideas of like negative and positive racing, where if you're three working at the front, disregard the back. So in that case, that's going to suit the points better, right? Because you're going to have more people likely at the front. So I think it's going to be interesting. I don't know how it's all going to play out, but I've just observed different ways that teams work in this way. And then Cognition, all for one for all kind of a thing. I think that they're going to be organized, you know, also because they've been thinking a lot through the structure this way before, right? Like, you know, how we're going to break up the rewards and how we're going to share. So they've been thinking about this for a while. So I don't think it's just going to be Cycling Hub all the way.
No, but what Cycling Hub does is very clever, because they're doing what Quickstep does in real life. Quickstep sends our rider up the road, and so they don't have to deal with the pressure of having to chase. It's literally cycling strategy 101. Rather be the aggressor rather than having to have to respond to the aggression. And the reason why I'm saying it's at a disadvantage to cycling is because now you are literally forced to come together as a unit. Your performance affects the rest of the team. And because we're very individual, and it's sometimes it can be difficult, you can be stubborn. I myself is one of those people. Now literally you have to come together, which is why I think it might even out the playing field, but we don't know. Now, last team before we go on to who we may want to like to see get on the platform. Timothy is starting a new team. We've seen the first bits of shades of that team with Ben and Timothy coordinating their kit. I think Jennifer's also on the team. They've been looking good. They took 1, 2, and 3 in Zone L yesterday. They faded towards the end, but they were up there. Beth, what do you like seeing from that team so far, and how far do you think they can go?
Well, Jennifer has had a nice arc over the last season, and she's learned a lot. And Ben is very tactical. You can tell by the tracks that he builds that, the way that he approaches racing is more like a Casey Shum, right? He's a very cerebral racer. Timothy has, I think, a lot of untapped I would say he has amazing skills, and he has a lot of untapped, I think, leadership abilities, right? So he, in this opportunity, having him be the leader, I think he's going to do some really great things, because he's really smart. And so if you, and very highly skilled. So if you take that intelligence, you give that person the leadership, where he was one of many on Cycling Hubs, one of a lot of talent, and now this is an opportunity for Timothy to shine. And not that he hasn't shined, he's shined very brightly, but in a different way, right? Like I'm going to, it's a time for him to shine even brighter. But you know what I'm saying, right? Like he's the leader, like he can use all of those smarts, and he can dictate how it's going to go with his team, of course, because I know that Ben and Jennifer are super cooperative. So I like the opportunities there, and I think he's going to do really, really well, because he knows what he's good at, and he's going to get the best out of his players as well.
His dedication is unreal. Like,
I know!
Zone T is 4 o'clock in the morning for him. Does he have nothing else to do?
No, you know what? He is sizing up the riders. He's like seeing what people are bringing.
Needs to check out every
I thought
single
Moti was obsessive when it came to recruiting people. Timothy's like, oh, who else should I get? Who else? Oh, yep. It's unreal.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the dedication of being a team leader, huh? You need to be awake at all times. I mean, uh, no, I think it's an interesting dynamic with a new team, and I think that's what the platform needs because, as we saw yesterday, as you mentioned, I think they came 1, 2, and 3 on Kayla's mountain track. So that was a really like cool sign to see. Like, okay, maybe a new team is gonna change the rhythm and change how it works. Because right now, you kind of know roughly how a race is gonna go, if it's normal. So yeah, I'm really interested to see how it will play out now. I'm not sure if Timothy is gonna introduce blocking into his new team, considering the things he did in Zone T last night. Now it was 4 a.m. as we said, so he might have been a bit tired and accidentally turned into Casey's lane. But we did see some shenanigans, so we'll see if he will bring that aspect in.
I think it's fine. Like in the run up here, I think that sort of blocking, even if you're on a keyboard, it's fine. Like even Frank and Nigel were going back and forth. Frank calling it
it's fine.
A reverse psychology block. I want it to be blocked. I've never heard anything like it, but Frank does what Frank wants to do. So I think it's fine. The block Timothy did. Like to see Jennifer celebrate as she did, because we're on Jennifer's point of view. I think she came over the line in third. Even when she won, that time on Submerged Stadium, her and Frank attacked, she won, no celebration. Yesterday, like it was the full-blown, like, arms above her head. I'm excited to see what that team is going to bring. But now we kind of expand the vision because for the Team League to be a success, I think we all agree we need new teams on the platform. We need new talent, fresh meat, new blood. But who would we want to see? I can start this discussion. I want to see my old team Vision. I really want to see Vision on the platform because there are some good friends on that team like Scott Horton, Jeffrey Keel, Jens Rasmussen, who I have been through thick and thin with on Zwift. From being a snail in category D, a snail alert, to going up to 4 watts per kilo A rider. They've been there. They've been in the streams. They've been on Discord. They would love CVRcade. I just think they need a push. Now, I know that Vision is run by Nathan, by Johnny. They're both Swift employees. I doubt they're going to let their team be the team on another platform. But if that's the case, well, we'll gladly take you. We can fit you in. Timothy's team would fit perfectly. It's got the Vision morals, also ex-Vision rider. But Vic, what other teams would you like to see get on?
I think I'd like to see like the Swedish community. I mean, I am Swedish myself, so it kind of makes sense. But if we're talking about like big communities on Zwift, for example, I mean, you have Vision, but also like Swedish Zwift riders are huge, and there's so many people there that would love CVRcade, I think. And I think bringing that sort of team in would really do a lot of good for the platform. And I think there's also a lot of different like people. You have like the elite riders that are like top level like athletes, and then you have like the lower riders. So kind of bring in a community instead, because I think if you start bringing in a few people, let's say that are from Sweden, and that community starts to grow, and then you get like different like communities, as we see on Zwift with like Danish bike riders, whatever. I think that would be a cool step. And also, I mean, I want to see more Swedish people on the platform. So not being biased, or maybe
Totally.
I am.
It's okay to be biased. I mean, also like try to like find people to ride in your time zone and to race with. I think that,
Exactly.
That's sort of, one of the logistical things about, how teams form is like you want to have a global team, but you need to have representatives in enough places so that you can try to coordinate. And we have, hours and hours apart on our team. And I'm like, oh, what time is it for you? Because I can't even remember. Oh, you're racing at 4. It's 7 a.m. for me. And
It's another day.
do you have to work that day? Yeah, so I think that just like more time zones involved, and that will give us more options to race. I mean, a CVRcade race, whether it has 7 people or 21, is very exciting because of the race dynamic. So it'd be great to start to have some of these other zones start to fill in. But from a team perspective too, I mean, I think it's easy to forget that virtual cycling and virtual racing is so new and so young. And CVR World Cup really was sort of the proving ground that this is possible. And I think that a lot of people know about CVRcade, whether they're whatever platform they're on. They had done a CVR World Cup. They knew that was the epitome of racing, and that was how it was done. Anyone who was involved with that knows what a great experience it is. So, and what experience it was. I mean, it's just like, I think back to all of the live events that we've done and how exciting and how, everybody kind of came together as a family, and it really tightened the community. And I think it's easy to forget that because it's been a little bit of time since we've, done something like that. So, we had, some ODZ riders, some PTZ riders. We had, right now, I don't even see like ODZ is offering the same amount of rides on other platforms, but, and some really, I think people who take a look at their teams and say, hey, I've got, a roster of 75 people of B through D racers that maybe have lost interest because, it's all kind of, it's all messed up, right? So I think there's an opportunity to have, folks that have had an experience with CVR World Cup understand CVR World Cup with the CVRcade mantra, and remember those good vibes, those good feelings of the racing that we really created at CVR.
Oh my God. When we posted the first email in a long time 2 days ago, which was the graphics email, which with a lot of people, it went down really well. We saw a lot of traffic go to the YouTube channel watching the graphics video. Saw a lot of people download CVRcade again. But there was a post into Zwift venting area, which is an area that's just fun. Like, it's just that the banter in there, the humor. Like, Jonathan Levy is just, man, that guy should be a stand-up comedian. But it was shared in there. It was a really good discussion, really healthy discussion. But then there were people calling it a Ponzi scheme and calling it fraud. Like, oh, you don't really pay out these prices. I'm like, what planet have you been living on? If you know the CVR brand... I mean, Frank, literally, if you went to Vancouver and LA, and Beth, you have been a racer, you can attest to this. You literally get paid on the spot at a CVR World Cup. You enter in your PayPal.
You lined up, and you had not just the prize purse, but you had other people who watched the stream contribute to the prize pool, and you had the money that was contributed. So you literally had the paper check, and it went right into your account. Like, it was like beers on me, I mean, immediately.
Still need to catch up on those beers, by the way, but yes.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
So that is like, that was something that just triggered me. I had a long discussion. Like, I'm at the point now where I believe in CVR. From day one, Viktor will attest to this. I'm like, CVRcade, this philosophy, this vision, it's me. Like, when I had to choose between going deeper with Zwift and doing like more stuff like that, or go with Cade, it was never really a tough like decision. Cade's vision, Cade's gameplay, like the whole, also the leadership of CVR is just amazing, and the level of professionalism. So when I saw this, and like let's just be real here, I worked really hard on that email. I put some really good screenshots in that Viktor took, and there were 5 of the best road realistic screenshots and 1 fantastical. Which screenshot do you think they took to make a point out of in that post? It was the one on electric fidget. I'm like, come on, guys. And so I think people are starting to come. I reached out to a bunch of CVR World Cup attendees for like Vancouver, LA, London, Paris. I'm like, guys, do you want to try something totally new but still CVR? Like, you can win money, you can race, you don't have to go anywhere. And it turned out a lot of these people just didn't know that the CVR World Cup had moved. They thought that the World Cup had ended. It was it. That's it. It was fun. Good journey. But they didn't know. So I think we'll see this progression now as we do season 1. It's a bit like Roanoke in the initial parts. Viktor never knew that existed before I told him. But then you had London, Paris, all these things. Shame on you, Vic. And it's the same thing now. Season 1 creates awareness. Season 2, gonna open the eyes. Season 3, 4, and 5... Like, I cannot wait to see what 100 people in a race would be like. Because that would literally be, 1, chaos and carnage, but 2, the most realistic looking road race you've ever seen. It'd be fun. But guys, 38 minutes in, I think we should just wrap up the podcast here. Beth, any finishing words you'd like to add on to this? I know we've been through a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm just really excited about 2020 from the racing that you mentioned. Bringing up Roanoke reminds me of like the difference between Roanoke and Paris. Night and day. The progression. I think we're going to see that same type of progression here on the CVR Arcade platform in terms of the CVR World Cup taking shape on it. We spent a lot of time to get it right. As more people come to the platform, I'm so excited, and I'm excited that Classes is rolling out again. It's more features are coming, so we might have thought of it, we might not have thought of it. So please, be involved with the feedback on that, and what we can do to continue to evolve that to be really awesome, because it's really for you, the community, to be able to do all these things. The tools are there. Create your own races, create your own workouts, bring your friends, and have some fun, because man, even in these classes, just messing around with power-ups, like, you're not watching Netflix, you're not like trying to like keep yourself from being bored. It's like you can't look away from the screen. And I'm so excited for 2020. And I'll stop. 39.
Yeah, I think I just want to say one thing is that when you mentioned 100 riders on the platform, all I can see now in my head is like 100 riders on New York, and I'm like,
you probably have to
recreate,
make some new tracks, but yes.
Well, yeah, but yeah, I guess so. Like bigger tracks, like, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say is like
quantum shift.
Imagine being in the middle of 100 peloton, like big.
That's
on
what
New
I mean.
York.
That's what I'm seeing in my head. I'm like, can't.
Oh no! Imagine this: Blockhead the Rocket on the front of 100-man peloton, and all you see is this line of people just going,
just slowing down. Like the train is departing.
It's a very satisfying. It's like when you've got snow on the front window of your car and you take out the thing and you like make one line and you've got snow around, but you can see that. That's kind of it's like an oddly satisfying GIF I can just see as they get ready.
Yeah, parting the way.
But this is what's gonna happen. We have grown from having 5 riders in the races. Like I remember the days we had 4 on the stream. We only had me and Kayla for a while, or Tim and Kayla. And now we're up to 21. We'll be at 100 before the end of the year. And like this is going places. 2020, again, sound like a broken record from the last podcast, but it's the year. Like it is the year. Get on, get riding, share your feedback with us. I love doing these podcasts. Vic, Beth, thank you as always. And we'll see you all next week for more chatting here. We should have more information as well to divulge on the World Cup, which I'll be excited. We'll have the first test event on Tuesday that we can discuss how that went and what we want to see better. So more exciting news coming next week. But until then,